Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I hope you are all keeping well and having a great week so far. And welcome to the special edition of the Newpreneur Cast live on LinkedIn and via my YouTube channel at Lee Foster Official. Welcome to the Business Data Series. I've got the great pleasure to be hosting these series with one of our special guests, and we're in episode 3 today. And it's all about optimizing your business. And the person who's going to be delivering and sharing her wealth of knowledge, a smorgasbord of knowledge and information in regards to this industry and this sector, is the one and only Louisa Stewart of Blue Ninja, who's going to be sharing her thoughts today on optimizing your business. Louisa, how are you doing? You well?
Very well, Lee. Thanks for having me back. I'm absolutely enjoying this series so much.
It's been good fun so far. We've had a
It
bit of a
has.
break there, and we're back on it again this week. So it's good to get back on the saddle and get in there about business data. So every week you've shared a wealth of knowledge with us, right? But let's start first of all by explaining to everybody who's watching and listening today, what is optimization all about? Can you
Mm.
share? Can you give me more of an insight into that?
Yeah, so we sort of, you can see the flow about, understanding your data and then delivering workflows, but business optimization is about the process of making your business more efficient, productive, and that all important profitable by improving your systems, processes, and your use of resources. Your tools, your systems that you're using, the tech that you've invested in for your business. It's about getting the best possible outcome with the least amount of waste, whether that's time, money, or energy. So, at its core, optimize your business is about streamlining operations, it's about reducing costs and inefficiencies. It's about improving the customer experience, which we've talked about a little bit already in the previous episodes. It's about leveraging data and technology and aligning your efforts with your business goals. So in short, it's about working smarter and not harder, which you and I are big fans of that older adage of working smarter to improve your business life as well as your personal life. You want to walk home leave at the end of the day and feel like you've achieved something, but not be sitting there at 11 o'clock at night thinking, when will this ever end?
Yeah, I think it's working very cleverly to how things can be processed through your business. And that actually makes real sense what you just explained there as well. And I think a lot of people are probably going through that themselves now, working longer hours, but not necessarily working smarter for themselves, really. I think there's many business owners out there like that. Do you agree, Louisa?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And I think that people struggle with the overwhelm of building your business up, and then you've got all these bits and pieces. You don't know what to do with them. So it's really about going back over and reflecting about the decisions you've made. So
Mm.
using the workflow that we talked about in the last episode, and going back over all those different elements of your business and going, is this still working the way that I had planned it to work, or has things changed and I need to adapt? So it's evaluating whether or not you're still working smarter, and if you're not, go back and reevaluate it. There's no need for you to worry about, oh god, have I failed because I'm going back over something and having to fix it. You absolutely haven't. It's a normal part of running a business, of going through those motions of tweaking and improving, and because you also learn about yourself and about your business as you go. So yeah, it's an important step of really growing as a business professional.
I think this, you mentioned there as well, reflection.
Mm.
Am I on the fence with this? Is there many business owners that reflect on their processes and their business optimization? Do you think there's many? If you look at a percentage, how many would it actually be that takes time out to look at all the dynamics
Not a lot.
realistically?
Yeah, no, I would say that business processes is the thing that people skip a lot. It's the one thing that I find very hard to talk to people about, getting those foundations in place, because they want to skip over it. It's that human desire to kind of get to the end, get to the solution, and not worry about all that stuff in the middle. You can sort of skip over that. But those are the bits that make the foundations hold.
Yeah.
So when you skip a lot of the stuff that are the foundational blocks of your business, how much support do you have from the bottom?
Mm. Do you know that's another good thing as well? I think a lot of people forget about looking at they want to get the results straight away.
Yeah.
They want the results straight out the bat. And it's something that I was going to delve into next with yourself is actually looking at, building on your own business foundations.
Mm.
Do you think there's a lot of people, especially when looking at optimization of your business and your data, do people really review their foundations of their business? Or do they know what they are?
I would say that people review some of it. If you feel like you're not making money in something, you tend to go to review that part of it.
Mm.
But the foundations are those core principles that sit underneath your business. And I've got a few examples for you. So they're your vision and your goals. Your purpose, direction, and objectives. What are you in business for? You should review those regularly. If you have a business plan, and you should have a business plan, that's a fluid document. You should be reviewing that regularly to see whether you're still in line with your vision and goals, which those won't change generally. It will be the things underlying to get to that vision, get to that goal that would probably change. But your business decisions should always have the vision and goals at the heart of every decision you make.
Mm.
You've got the business model. So, are you delivering value and generating revenue from what you do? Are your products and services profitable? This is the bit that people go back to the most, because if you're not making money out of it, you tend to look at the business model first. But it might be that, are you misaligned with something? Do you not have processes and systems that explain the way that your business model works? Because often what happens is you might have some processes in place, but if you're a single owned business, you're going to kind of go, well, I know that that's in my head. I don't need to write it down. But as you grow and bring on more people, they're like, well, I don't understand what this is, because it hasn't been written down. There's no documentation to say how you want things to happen. And so the larger the company, the more important those processes and those systems, those written documentation becomes, because
Mm.
it means that you don't have to keep going over the same thing over and over again. It's documented. All you're doing is going, is that working for us? If not, let's review it and update it.
Yeah. Do you think there's many people out there that, should I say this? Should I say this? Do you think they wing it?
Oh, so much, so much. Yeah. I would say that more often than not, I see something and go, why are you doing it that way? And they go, oh, I don't know, I just decided to do it. So there's the sort of the structures are, they're not documented. They're a little bit woolly. It's almost like it was luck that something happened. So they kind of go, well, I don't have to worry about it. It's working. Let's not go back over it and check it again. I think they also don't want to find fault in things that have already been developed, or have someone critical, which sometimes happen when I review things and I have thoughts about what I'm seeing. Someone gets very defensive with me because I'm challenging their idea or their purpose of what they're trying to deliver. It's not about that. It's just making sure there's no holes in it. Um, so things like people and roles, who does what, and is that an effective role? So do you have um, do you have job descriptions for all your people? Do you have a job description for yourself? Um, that is a part of your processes. That's something that you need to have as a business owner. So when you go, I need a social media manager, you know exactly what that person's role is, how much you're paying for that person, and what the deliverables are. Does it fit with your vision and mission? Um, the next thing is very close to my heart, which is, of course, data and technology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saved about €800 a year just on reviewing all of my tech, and essentially getting rid of stuff that I knew that I already had in something else, or new systems were coming through that could deliver a lot of what I was paying for individually.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shame in actually saying that isn't working for me anymore. I'm going to use this system. As long as you can extract your data and be able to essentially put it in effectively, you can change systems as long as you're smart about it. So that working smarter is also based on, is the system right for you or not? If it's not, what do you need? And as we know, the way that technology is changing
Mm-hmm.
very rapidly, if you're not auditing your tech, or if you haven't in a while, please do so now, because you could be spending money that you don't need to spend.
I've actually done that in the last few weeks, Louise. I've actually looked at some tech that I use in sort of like digital sort of media type pulling things together, and decided to go with one way instead of the other and just let that discontinue itself completely because it wasn't the right fit of what I was looking for. But again, that didn't happen by accident. I reviewed what I was doing and thinking, okay, that actually works better for me than the previous tool that I was using, in other words. So yeah, it's a good,
Yeah.
good pointer there.
Yeah, and then financial health is another thing to factor in.
Mm,
So your cash flow, pricing, and profitability. So, and it's an area that people really struggle with because I mean I'm not brilliant with numbers. I'll confess that I'm not that comfortable in this space, but I know that I need to keep looking at my numbers. And it's like if your profit margins drop significantly, why? Like
mm,
look at that information. So if you're not bringing in new clients, but you're losing old ones, you know that your profit margins are going to be shorter or shrinked. So, it's such a big threat to small businesses when they're not either monitoring their financial health or they don't know how to. And so, those sorts of things, you can use a system to be able to give you guidance on your numbers. So, I'll say if you start out, it doesn't matter with an Excel spreadsheet, but the more you grow, the better technology is going to help you with things like finances
mm,
because it means that it can tell you exactly what you're spending money on. Always categorize your finances. So if you're looking at, say, I have professional fees, software, computing, I have bank fees, like all of those. Every time I have an expense, I allocate it to one of those. And I knew I was spending a little bit too much on software a couple of years ago, so I had to scale back on, and I get into something and think, oh, this is incredible. So I start playing around with it. But of course, I've recognized that those were expenses I really didn't need to be paying, um, because I wasn't then using that for anything further. Like it was more about my, internal interest of something rather than it being a part of my strategy. So, I think your finances can give you a lot of information about your business health, um, that maybe you don't want to also deal with it. But it's recognizing that if you stay in front of all these things, you really can optimize the way that you're running a business because you know where you're going to need to pivot or change quite quickly. You're not having to go back and go, oh, I don't know what a privacy policy is. I haven't written that out. What do I do with this? But you might need a privacy policy or a terms and conditions when you then launch a new product that has a payment element to it.
mhm. I think it's again looking at that gives it clarity, and I think that's such a good point to have. Really, it's that we like a lot of people like the shiny things in business.
Mm,
They go, "Oh, that might work really well," and then sometimes they add it to the mix, and before you know it, it's too long. And it's sometimes to take that little time of reflection to look at exactly what you've got going on a month-to-month basis. But I would actually say on a daily basis, reviewing your income and an outgoing is a good habit to have. You know, what business you've dealt with today on a daily basis, reviewed on a weekly basis, look at it on a monthly basis, look at it on a quarterly basis, gives you a good track record of actually, if you're using some tech or resources that's working really well, keep using it because it's a good investment for you. It's actually
it
turning
is.
out business for you.
It is. And there's nothing wrong with going back over your business. Like I know people who have gone back over it and completely changed the way they're working because they didn't feel like it wasn't connecting with what their goals were. And it's absolutely fine to do that. It's your business. It's your choice. I would say that when you start to build teams, that's when you might be less flexible with your ability to change to optimize, because they're going to be reliant on the structures you've already got in place.
Mhm.
Um, but it never hurts to have the conversation with the team about what they feel isn't working, and they might see things that you're not seeing. So it's always helpful, even with your outsourced support.
Yeah.
Have a chat with them and say, "What do you think I'm missing? What are the gaps?
Mhm.
What can I improve on?" And most of the time, they're going to give you useful feedback as long as you're open to accepting that feedback, and also working out whether it is worthwhile for you to implement that feedback or not. Sometimes it might just be happy to hear the advice and that's fine, but more often than not, you can action what someone tells you in the feedback to improve and optimize the way that you're running.
I think it's like the third eye, Louisa. It's having somebody from the
Mm,
outside looking in. I mean, you can get stuck inside your bubble too much. and that time can fly away from you. We've had conversations like this over the many years that we work together as well, with people that we've been dealing with or working with and collaborators. I think what you mentioned there, the outsourcing of experience or product or delivery, is always key. To go and reach out to those outsourcers and actually say to
Yeah.
them, what do you see from the outside looking in? And I think there's many people out there, again, they'll be frightened to ask the question because they're frightened of the feedback.
They are. And I think you can review your the people that you work with also. So, you've got, in some circumstances, jobs that no longer exist because you've got AI mechanisms that will counter that. Have a chat to the person, say, what else can we do together? It's not about dismissing something because you found something better. It's about, what do you need to fit? If you've got a person who has a wealth of knowledge about your business and you go, that role doesn't work anymore, where can they fit? Where else can they be valuable to you? Because if you let them go, you've lost all of that knowledge and all of that useful information in your business. And
Yeah,
you might have to start again if, 6 months from now you go, oh God, I really could have used someone in that role, and you never had that conversation. So, there's ways of addressing some of the maybe the weaknesses in the business to optimize them, but also reflecting on what opportunities are there in terms of human resources, in terms of feedback that you get, in terms of new opportunities that you might not have seen before.
there's another point you made. I'm just going to go back slightly, right? Because it's something that's relevant that you're talking about just now, but also understand, like, you talk about teams and their position, their role, collaborators in your business, and
Mhm.
optimizing to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, you got your foundations in place, etc. as well. But something you mentioned before about actually looking at your job description.
Mm.
Is that have you actually gone down that process yourself? Have you done a job description for your role as the business owner of Blue Ninja?
I have. I'm CEO, CFO, COO. Put all the dots behind it. But and that's where I realized that the chief financial officer hat is not one that fits me very well.
Mm,
I'm very good at operations and I'm very good at management, but finances are the things that I'm not that comfortable with. So
mm,
it's like, what support do I need for that? What do they need to know about my business? And how am I reporting on that? So I used to do it. I mean, I still do. I do an annual report every year to keep myself accountable for what I'm delivering. And I think something like that is just an easy thing that you can introduce to give you guidance on whether you're meeting your obligations or not. And
yeah,
doesn't have to be a public document, it can be just for you. But it also then brings back into your vision and mission and your goals. Are you actually achieving those within that year that you're reporting on? Or do you feel like you've got space to be able to optimize the business for the future year?
yeah,
um, Optimization can happen in a day, a week, a month, quarterly, yearly. It doesn't have to be something that is only, every year we review this and then we decide that. Optimization can come at any point where you feel like you're reflecting on your business and
mm,
being able to make decisions that will then improve something in order to make it more efficient.
yeah. Some good points there. And it just when you mentioned that there before, I thought that would be really interesting to dive into that a
Mhm.
little bit further. Um, we've talked about the foundation. We've talked about the tools and the processes you have in place as well. But I think what a lot of people forget about is actually the optimization for your business growth and taking it to the next level.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts on that, Louisa?
Yeah, so I mean, this means preparing your business for growth in a way that is intentional, it's scalable, and it's sustainable. A lot of small business owners have probably intentional businesses or potentially sustainable, but they don't have a scalable business. The business is built around them. And
Mm,
when, I mean, I had this problem myself. When you want to have other people come in and support clients, and the clients go, well, we don't want them, we just want you. That doesn't make you scalable. So, without burning out your team or compromising your service quality, optimizing for growth can be quite a positive thing. It removes bottlenecks, it helps tighten systems, it focuses your time and energy, and that's what really drives you forward. So I've got a few points on ways to optimize your business growth.
sure.
One of them is focus on scalable offers. And so this is prioritizing services or products that are easy to repeat, deliver, and profit from as you grow. And I know this is something that you and I have talked about, Lee, in
Yeah.
terms of both our business planning. You know, how do we grow with what we have? Um, and I rebuilt my business around the fact that I was concerned about my scalability, because when I was working in implementation and people only wanted me, I couldn't scale. So I either have to change the way that my implementation package was provided, to which I trialed it and had some issues, or I pivoted and said, well, that's not going to work for me. If I can't train someone and take myself out of the equation,
Mm,
where else can I be most effective?
mm.
Automation. Oh, I can't tell you how many people still say, oh, we do this manually. Um, systemize
I knew you'd get
repetitive.
mixed up at some point.
There we go. I was going to say systematize, but that's not a word. Systemize repetitive admin and delivery. So that saves you time and reduces errors, because people make mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, the less you're going to be optimized. Um, Create a lead generation engine. So if you go back to the previous episode where I was showing you about a workflow, really basic thing, but take your business and put it into that model and see where you can bring new business in, and then keep those leads flowing into your business. If you don't know where the leads are coming from, you can't optimize your sales process.
Yeah.
Use data to guide your decisions. So I'm currently reviewing all of my social media for the year. And I've got consistent metrics across every single post that I've made. And I'm going, well, what post did well? What didn't? Was it a video? Was it a carousel? So I'm evaluating all of those elements to go, right, moving forward, what should my social media look like?
Mm,
Because I need to know what's connected with people and what didn't, and do more of the stuff that's connected. Data is going to guide me to those decisions that I can make sure that I'm not wasting time on social media that people aren't paying attention to.
yeah.
So the next thing I've got is strengthening your delivery systems. So things like maintaining service quality. So as your customers grow, and I think we've all seen this in when software companies, for instance, they get really big, and then suddenly it's like, well, it takes 4 hours to get anyone to help me with something, or the quality's dropped because someone's not prioritizing me as someone important to them. So by making sure that your delivery systems are optimized, it means that your customer journey or your customer base are going to be happy with you. And again, that's another part of the optimization process.
Mm,
Um, Build a small support team. So we've talked about having a team and making sure that their roles are defined. But this is that outsourcing element. Make sure you've got people who are doing the jobs that are low value tasks for you, so you can focus on the strategic work that are going to grow your business.
mm.
I've got two more for you.
Go on then.
One is the financial model. So making sure that your cash flow is in place, you have a plan for the cost of expansion. So if you're going to implement a new course, for instance, you might need to invest in maybe people to help you develop that course, the software to put it out, marketing,
Mm,
making sure that you have a plan for what that growth strategy looks like financially. And my last thing is, and as we started out, protecting your time and your focus. So making sure you're prioritizing the high impact work, the 80-20 rule. So making sure, you're maximizing your time, and setting boundaries to avoid burnout. A boundary could be that you don't work past a certain time of day. A boundary could be that if you feel like and I always say, try to track your hours regardless of what the hours are for. So if you're spending more than, say, 40% of your time on internal and only 60%, you should try to get that. So 80% of your time is spent on client facing work, which is bringing you in money, and only 20% of your time is then invested internally. So making sure that you protect yourself and you're not working for working sake, working for work's sake. You've actually still got your vision and your mission at the back of everything you do.
Yeah. I think it's so important. You've shared some great. I've just added a few extra pointers in there, everybody, just on the YouTube channel. Just about four areas that Louisa mentioned before. But if you want any more information, I would highly recommend reaching out to Louisa separately at Blue Ninja, and find out a bit more if you want to. And keep an eye on the feed on LinkedIn, because they'll probably drop things in there as well. And there'll be a small update going forward as well. But I think it's so important that we look at those key areas. One of the big things that you mentioned there before is lead generation engine. As part of your data. And I think also a lot of people, again, it's that point you mentioned before, you got some great points there, but that actual using data to guide your decisions,
Yeah,
instead of just making a decision thinking that is the right way to go. Actually, if you collate the right data every single week, every single day, that will guide what's going to work well for you.
it will. Yeah.
Let's go.
And for some people that, lick finger in the air and something happens, oh my God, I'm a magic maker, but it's not sustainable. There's that trifecta of things, and sustainability is one of them. And if you're not able to then reproduce that, then it's not going to be effective for you moving forward. So yes, you might have been lucky at one point, and some people are very lucky. They seem to they release something and suddenly everyone's like, oh my God, that's incredible. But they are so strategic in every single step up to the point of launch and then beyond that. So I'm thinking like of Stephen Bartlett. He's so strategic in everything he does. It looks so here he is again, like some amazing thing he's just done. I think his strategy is so carefully defined, and it's based on principles that he had, 20 years ago, that are still guiding his decisions moving forward. He decided to not take, I think it was $100 million deal, because he felt that he had the tools to be able to do that. I think it was a podcast or something. He had the tools to do that better than having someone buy it off him. He just went, I trust myself enough in all of my experience and with everything I've strategically developed to be able to achieve that success myself. I don't need someone else to come in and try to create it for me. I could do it myself.
Yeah.
I think that's the trust that you're taking those steps forward to optimize at every single level, in order to then be able to trust that as you grow, everything's in place. Those foundations need to be secured. And if you're guessing or trying to jump over stuff just to try to get it done, then your foundations are not going to be strong at all.
But also mentioning there as well, like the Stephen Bartlett and many other people, it's not like they've just literally decided to wing it and decided to do, like, literally today I'm going to do this. There's a lot of strategic planning gone into place, and probably what you don't see is it's took time to think it through, maybe for a few months, and then thought, yeah, I could do that. And they've done their research and they've done their planning behind it before we actually executing it and actually getting it into place.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Tony Gordon and I were talking about this in Setting Up Shop. It's another project we have, and we were talking about that strategy, the idea. It's just an idea until you build up the tools around it. Like, what are your strategy for that idea to be developed? What are the actions that you put in? What knowledge do you need to put into that idea in order to execute it? So, it's lovely to have wonderful ideas, and I encourage people to put time aside for your brain to just expand and let go and see what comes out of there. But to know that you can't just create that idea and then move it into execution. You actually need to have all these steps in place, and the foundations of your business would help you optimize that if you've built them up the right way.
It's like myself, Louisa. I mean, I had an idea just under 12 months ago, and it took time to develop it, research it, look at it, think about it. And I've done some things in the past that that I've literally just thought, give that a try. Some of it's worked, and then you follow through with it. But this one I kept on the back burner and just kept working on it, and then launched it at the beginning, sort of literally, not last month, the month before. I did an introductory taster to try it out, and that was my PM membership. And it was sort of like put it out there to see what people thought of it. Tony's part of that as well, and it's going right. That works well. And then when I did the live proper launch like last month, everything came into play. So it took me about 8 or 9 months to get it where I wanted to be, the right idea from the initial acorn.
Yeah.
So it's literally test and measure, test and measure, test and measure.
And you've been optimizing Revitalize for years.
Yes.
So it's not just been a case of that period of time. It's been over probably 4 years that I've been working with you
Yeah.
on you know even things like um, how do you talk to someone? What's the touch point for someone to even learn about Revitalize and get to know you,
Yeah.
uh, and and that's refined even. So you know how you want to talk to someone. You know what questions they'll probably ask, so I'm sure you have a little sheet that says, these are the answers. You might put that as the frequently asked questions on the website.
Yeah.
So you're sort of using those points of learning to then be accountable at another level.
Correct. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Mm.
It takes time. It does definitely takes time. Um, Thank you so much, Louisa. It's been great to learn about our third episode, right? Optimizing your business. But next time in episode 4, what we're going to be covering?
Oh, we're going to be talking about AI in your business. And this is an area which I'm interested in talking about. And I would say that I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form on the totality of AI, but I think it's worth us discussing because it might make people who are a little bit scared of AI a little bit more comfortable with like tiny steps they can take within it. But we're
Mm,
going to be talking about, the growth of AI, what's out there, and just some practical suggestions which I think will help small business owners just to dip into AI a little bit more to see how they can make it work for them, because AI is not disappearing anytime soon.
no.
So you might as well get into the space. But let's do it together. Let's see if we can give you some practical advice of how to use AI for your business.
I was actually talking about that today at a meeting down South End on Fleece and Galloway, and I was chatting to one of our attendees today, and it was discussing AI and how they use it, and it was
Mm,
more from a strategic arm. You talked about strategy today. We talked about looking at the research behind it before effectively executing what you want to do, and it plays a part in their idea, their brainstorming, their sort of like looking at what they think is a good idea, and that just a lot of people think it's about creating content and everything else. It wasn't. It was just ideas. I've got
yeah.
this idea, I've got that idea, and the way AI now plays a major part in many people's businesses, how it grows, is
Hmm.
definitely here to stay. There's so much we can explore with that.
Hold that thought. Let's cover that for next time.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much again to Louisa. Thanks again for joining us this week for another episode of our business data series with the Newpreneur cast. For everybody's watching and listening today, if you've got any questions at all, please go to the LinkedIn feed or the YouTube feed and drop it in there. Myself and Louisa will see that pop up in the feed as it goes forward. If you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet, please go to @LeeFoster Official, hit the bell, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified when the next Newpreneur cast is popping up, which of course will be next week on Tuesday at the same time in the afternoon for episode 4 of our 4 episodes that we've done, this special edition that I'm doing, Louisa. Thanks again to everybody who's been watching and listening. And for me and Louisa, I think it's a goodbye, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.